Sometimes it feels like all I can do is plant flowers. Hi, my name is High Functioning Aesthetic and I am a trauma artist. I have a comic going on. It explores about the dynamics of narcissistic abuse, and I've been told that my art touches on the things that people can't really put into words. I had this concept for a long time. I write all my concepts down in a little notebook, and recently I felt like it was time to draw it. Sometimes it feels like all I can ever do is plant flowers. Recently I had a friend pass away from depression. They were quite young to be passing away, and the value that they provided to the community around them was enormous. Like, my friend Steph was an absolute incredible person, big artist, big with the community around them, big on authenticity. They were just one of those characters that were larger than life, and they were lonely their whole life. Their funeral was very full. They passed because of depression. There is nothing I can do about it. Sometimes it feels like all I can ever do is plant flowers. And throughout the grieving process, a big part for me is that I have not been accepting of Steph's death. It feels like, as a spiritual person and like someone who explores into a lot of different religions and belief systems, I feel like if I could just look close enough at the fabric of reality, I could spot an inconsistency, or I could spot a hole that I could yank Steph's soul through. I actually made this piece while I was at the gym the other night, and I referenced some of the words I'd said to a mutual friend who was aware of everything that had happened, and it reads, "It feels like a part of me is tied to them, my heart to their heart and my spirit to theirs, and that tie is going into the grave. I am desperate somehow, trying to drag them back through the very fabric of reality itself, but I think in all realness it's probably dragging me down into the grave with them." And here you can see me crying on what could be the banks of the river Styx, but at the time I was drawing it, it's to represent reality, and that's Steph on the other side of reality, and that's our hearts. And all I can do is plant flowers. As a spiritual girly, I have done a lot of deconstructing and a lot of unpacking my faith and what I believe in and what I don't know about, and what I perceive God. And I really don't understand that we have a lot of people walking around on the face of the earth, horrible people. We've got politicians we don't like, we've got prime ministers and presidents we don't like, we've got our exes, we've got people who have wronged us, and there are so many different sort of people who are evil, people who haven't done nothing, and people who we will never know about. And it's always the ones you love the most. It's always Steve Irwin, it's always Betty White, it's always Steph. And sometimes it feels like all I can do is plant flowers, and I don't want to plant flowers. I don't want to be planting flowers on your grave. Steph didn't even have a grave. He was cremated and his mum took his ashes home. And there are people who didn't even make the funeral, because that's the reality of who Steph was. They impacted so much of the community around them that people didn't make the funeral. There are people who don't know, even now. There are people who don't get to grieve. Because what do you do when someone's gone too soon and now they don't even have a grave? All it feels like I can ever do is plant flowers, and what are those flowers gonna do when someone you really care about is on the other end of reality, and you've been told your entire life that if you don't believe in God, they're burning in hell? And in my own work, when I'm trying to comprehend what the fuck is that, some people are telling me that hell doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the earlier manuscripts of the Bible, and some people are making really good arguments about religions and Buddhism and how God interacts with people's hearts, but none of that changes. A broken record that plays in my head all the time is I don't give a fuck how good your argument is. Steph is still dead and I cannot get them back. Doesn't matter you say and how well you say it, Steph is still dead and I cannot get them back, and if I just knew the right thing to do, I could get them back, and it feels like I'm running out of time. When in reality, I probably never had that time to begin with, because how do you bring back someone who so desperately wanted to die? I don't know why so many people walk the earth when someone who just wanted to make art and be there for people had depression and they had mental illness and their SSRIs didn't work for them in time. And there is a part of my indoctrination I was grown up with, apparently, because our modern medicine is not advanced enough where we were able to catch Steph in time, they have to burn in hell. I don't want that to be true, and that is something I struggle with deeply, and all it feels like I can ever do is plant flowers. I don't want to plant flowers. I don't want to be grieving at Steph's grave, my grave, the grave of the economy, the grave of what the fuck is this country, the graves of the decisions that every politic and every medical care provider has ever made, because I have a few friends around me dying because WINS doesn't give them a grant, WINS doesn't care, WINS doesn't pay out, they can't access a counsellor, they don't have access to the healthcare they need, because yeah, you can go to the doctor and say you're sad, but like, it's never enough. And I'm so scared about what this means for everyone. Like, it reminds me of that saying, Earth without art is just air. I'm seeing it. With every one of my friends that dies, with every like fucking bill that's passed in this monstrous excuse for a government, it's like, it feels like the world gets a little bit duller. Look outside right now. Tell me, you can't tell me that how grey the world is. It didn't look like this when we were kids. The colours were brighter, there was more life, there was more going on. And like, it just feels like, I don't even know how to describe the way it feels. Like, fuck, all I can ever do is plant flowers, or all I can ever do is pray, and like, bro, that's not enough. People are dying and I'm grieving them, crying my eyes out on Instagram, and it feels like, I don't know, bro, I'm the only one holding this feeling. And I know that's not probably reality. I know that thoughts can spiral, but like, bro, why am I struggling to afford groceries, crying over my fucking dead friend, and I struggle to even talk about it because I don't want, some people will never know Steph, and I don't want them to only know of Steph as a concept of, oh, they're dead, the dead person. Meanwhile, fucking every politician in Parliament right now is getting their lunches paid for, getting a fucking grant paid for them to live in their fucking house that they've already paid off, getting a pension paid out once they don't even work for Parliament anymore. Like, what is that, bro? I don't even have the words to describe it. All I can do is plant flowers. Like, bro, what's a flower gonna do when my friend is dying because they never got the help they needed in time? What is a flower gonna do? And that's all that I can do. All I can do is make art and cry and ask people who aren't even listening. I can't, the politicians in Parliament, they don't give a fuck. How do I ask someone to have a heart when there is an empty space there? There is an empty hole in your chest where not even a flower will grow out of. Like, bro, what the fuck?